Oh, Jesus, Michaela, really? I'm eating cucumbers.
What is going on? I'm very nervous that the dog is burning in hell right now for his past sins.
What?
Oh God!
Why'd you have to do that?
What, that is a fucking ringtone.
I'm gonna start out with a really crazy, just insane article that Stone found. Yep. Carl Tanzler fell in love.
Dr. Carl Tanzler.
Put some respect on that shit, son. Dr. Carl Tanzler. They don't even put it, so it's not just me. Okay, this is information. This is misinformation being passed down.
Start with some history.
How are you? Oh, well, we're doing pretty good, dude. We're doing pretty good. Just got back from enjoying a family outing with some pretty good music, I must say. Better music than I anticipated, gotta say.
I hope so, right?
Here, you're kind of clipping low. Here, let's see if we can't get you a little bit louder. Un moment, s'il vous plaît.
Rudy Giuliani looks like he's something that went spoiled.
You gotta speak up just a little bit, darling.
Oh, better?
Yeah, sort of.
Oh. I was saying...
You just gotta be loud.
Rudy Giuliani looks like he continuously sniffs something that's been spoiled. Like,
yeah. We are looking at a picture that you guys can't see quite yet, but it does look... That is a perfect example.
They don't know we're looking at the photo. They can just think that that's a organic sentence.
That is true. Yeah, they don't need to know that, yeah. You just thought of that out of the blue.
Brand new sentence.
Let's see if we can't do something. All right. Give me a test.
Oh, Rudy Giuliani kind of looks like Carl Tanzler, too. Like, looking at them, they both got that big forehead.
They do kind of look like they're, like, yeah, they could be, like, distant relatives or some shit like that.
Yeah. But Carl Tanzler is German. Rudy Giuliani, I believe, is Italian.
Hello. All right, cool. There you go. That's a lot better as far as I'm concerned. Because I don't have to talk as loud. I hear her fine. Yeah? Okay.
Yep. What?
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So if you can hear that, do you agree about Rudy Giuliani looking like he's continuously sniffing something that's turned spoiled?
Howdy, Mare.
Hey, girl.
It's always good to see you. How are ya? How are y'all? Oh, Mare, could you share the stream for us, honey? We'd appreciate it so. All right, here we go. So, you came at just the right time, Mare, because we're talking about Dr. Carl Tanzler fell in love with his patient, then lived with her corpse. Barely alive? I'm sorry to hear that, Mare, but I'm glad you're here to be not all there with us. Some people have a hard time letting go, and Dr. Carl Tanzler, I'm going to keep calling him Doctor, and Dr. Carl Tanzler may have had the hardest. Do we have the water in here?
Yeah.
Woo! Water. In 1931, Dr. Carl Tanzler fell in love with a patient he was treating for tuberculosis. Oh, Jesus.
Yep.
Wow. You think he got it from the corpse? Like, does a disease linger on a corpse?
I mean, it can. Depends on the disease.
That's a good question for all for all the certain doctors we have in our audience. Yeah, Stu and I got some really bad news and have to move suddenly. Aw.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Well, I suppose if you need any help, let us know, all right?
I mean, it's only TB.
It's only TB. Come on, you can walk off TB.
Oh, it's
Maybe
also...
that's a fling of
I
his.
Mean, by the way...
like he has a tuberculosis fetish.
By the way, this is technically a Florida man story.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Ah, I see it. Zephyr Hills, Florida. I already see it. Oops, sorry about that, love. All right. Dr. Carl Tanzler fell in love with a patient he was treating for tuberculosis. This love made him determined to keep his patient alive, which he attempted to do, quite literally, by removing her corpse from the mausoleum it was housed in and holding it together with coat hangers, wax, and silk. A man of craftsmanship. And of course, anything for you, girl. Yous are good friends. Carl Tanzler was born in 1877, which explains why explains the picture, and reportedly studied weather patterns in Austria in 1910, where he stayed until the end of World War I. Upon returning home, Tanzler married and had 2 children in 1920, and the family immigrated to Zephyr Hills, Florida. Florida man! Tanzler quickly abandoned his brood after accepting a position as a radiologic technician in Key West. That's a hell of a title. The radiologic technician of Key West.
From the weather?
Yeah, oh, well, yeah, that's true. From
Just
doing weather pattern studies.
Fuck you, kids. I'm going to Key West to be a radiologic technician.
I like clouds and X-rays
Corpses.
and microwaves.
And corpses.
And corpses, yeah. Where he worked. There we go, all shared. Thank you, girl.
Yeah.
Where he worked at the U.S. Marine Hospital under the name Count Karl von Kossel. That's also a hell of a name. Count Karl. Count Karl sounds like a parody vampire movie.
Count Carl with a K.
All the waves. Born in Key West in 1909. Oh, wait, no, wait. When a Cuban-American woman named Maria Elena Milagro de Hoyos. Jesus Christ. Maria Elena Milagro de Hoyos walked into the hospital. The doctor saw before him an actual dream come true. Born in Key West in 1909, the daughter of a cigar maker and a honey maker, Hoyos... Oh,
slow down.
Sorry. Yeah, I am getting ahead of myself. I don't understand why I do that. Well, I also took my glasses off, so... Hoyos was raised in a large family and was brought to the hospital by her mother after becoming ill. As a young boy in Germany, Tanzler would often have visions of a stunning, dark-haired woman who was predestined to be his one true love. The 22-year-old beauty resembled his childhood premonition so closely that he immediately became convinced that their love was meant to be. This should be a whole horror movie. Is he related to Count Chocula? No, but they have the same title. He's not related. They just have the same title. Unfortunately for both of them, Tanzler's prognosis for young Hoyos was not great. Having diagnosed her with tuberculosis, which was still considered to be a fatal disease in the early 1900s, despite the lack of qualifications needed to treat a tuberculosis patient, Tanzler was determined to save Hoyos and used a variety of specially made tonics, elixirs, and medicines in an effort to do so. Carl Tanzler administered these treatments in Hoyos' family home, showering her with gifts and declaring his love all the while. Despite his best efforts, Hoyos succumbed to her illness in October 1931, leaving her family and newly obsessed caretaker heartbroken. Tanzler insisted on purchasing a pricey stone mausoleum in Key West Cemetery for her remains to lay, and with her parents' permission, hired a mortician to prepare her body for locking her inside. So the mausoleum is probably just so... No,
Key West is...
full of that stuff?
Well, yeah, it's like New Orleans.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hoyos' family didn't realize that the only key to the tomb would remain in Tanzler's possession. Tanzler would quickly take... See, that's so sus. Like, come on. Like, really walk yourself through that whole scenario, okay? Hey, I want to build this big mausoleum for your dead daughter, who I, like, loved because she was my patient. And I want to keep the only key to the tomb. How is that not a whole host of red flags? Tanzler would quickly take advantage of this privilege, which would result in one of the most macabre tales of all time. Tanzler visited Hoyos' grave every night for nearly 2 years, a habit that stopped abruptly after he lost his job for reasons unknown.
Oh, it gets creepier. It gets
Oh.
so creepier.
While her family did consider this drastic change in behavior to be a bit strange, they could not have imagined the reasoning behind it. In April of 1933, Carl Tanzler removed Hoyos' body from the mausoleum, no longer requiring him to make his nightly visits to the graveyard, as she would now be housed in his own home.
When did she die? What year?
Pardon me. Let me think here.
1931?
1931, yeah.
So, go down. So, yeah, the 2 years. Okay.
2 years, though, of her just being in there. Oh, Lord, just stewing. Oh, I guess, like, trigger warning.
Yeah.
You did a hell of a job.
Go
He
on.
kind of looks like Freud. Or like Carl Jung. He's got a Carl face, so. What?
Oh, you didn't read this?
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
That was the last thing I read. Now, 2 years deceased, Carl Tanzler was left with the task of maintaining Hoyos' corpse. He did this as needed inside of an old airplane he had repurposed him into a makeshift medical laboratory. There he looked to a number of DIY tricks to keep the young woman's decaying body intact, including plaster of Paris, glass eyes to maintain the integrity of her face, as well as coat hangers and other wires to stabilize her skeletal frame. Yeah. I assure you it can't stop there. Yeah, I know. We're already too far gone. There's no way it's this.
There's a Shyamalanian twist at the end.
Oh my god. All right, I'm so excited. I don't think I
Oh, yeah,
I
you
could have
didn't
been
read
more
this.
excited. No.
I read
You
this.
read me like the first paragraph and then I was like save it for the show. Hang on just 1 second. Boom. Bibbidi. Bop. There we go. Okay, now. I know it can't stop there. There he looked to a number of DIY tricks. Okay, he had her torso stuffed with rags in an attempt to preserve its original form. This should have gone on our bad taxidermy. Like, it technically is, you know?
What do you think happened to Dr. Tanzler? Carl Tanzler, drop it in the chat. What do you think his fate was? It's the cat digging in the litter box.
Right, yeah.
She's digging for buried treasure.
He had her torso stuffed with rags in an attempt to preserve its original form, and he covered her scalp with bits of real hair. Tanzler added copious amounts of perfume, flowers, disinfectants, and preserving agents to keep the rotting odor at bay, and routinely applied mortician's wax to Hoyos' face in an effort to keep her alive.
Fun fact, where do you think he got the hair?
Oh my lord, yeah, that's a good point.
I didn't think about that the first read.
Does it mention it?
No. That's up to the imagination.
Carl Tanzler had the corpse wrapped in a dress, gloves, and jewelry, and placed the body in his own bed, which he shared with the corpse for the next 7 years, with pretty much the entire town. This is literally a genuine for real doll he created. Well, I mean, yeah, it's for real. It's the for real doll, the FRFR.
Oh, you wish it was spontaneous combustion. No, you'll be surprised.
With pretty much the entire town talking about the reclusive man often seen buying women's clothing and perfume, on top of one local boy's account of witnessing the doctor dancing with what appeared to be a giant doll, Hoyos' family began to suspect that something was off. Seriously, this could be an Academy Award-winning horror movie. After Hoyos' sister showed up at Tanzler's home in 1940, this is 7 years into having the doll. The jig was up. There she found what she believed to be a life-size effigy of her departed sister. Oh my god, that must be so traumatizing. Arriving authorities quickly determined that this doll was in fact Hoyos herself, and they arrested Tanzler for grave robbing. Is this where sex dolls originated? At least the idea. At least the idea of them. An autopsy of the body revealed the intricacies of Tanzler's work, which included a paper tube inserted between her legs, forming a makeshift vagina, although Tanzler never admitted to committing any necrophilic acts. Okay, I love that they're like never admitted, as opposed to like he refused or he wasn't.
Gotta keep the integrity.
Yep, that's true. Journalistic integrity and all that. A psychiatric evaluation determined that Tansler was competent to stand trial, although some reports state that his ultimate plans involved flying Hoyos high into the stratosphere so that radiation from outer space could penetrate her tissues and restore her life to her somnolent form.
Sleeping.
So,
You're wondering what somnolent means.
thank you. That makes sense, because somnia. Anyway, despite everything, the statute of limitations had expired for the crime he was accused of committing, leaving Tansler to go free. Oh, Lord. There is no God. There is no justice in this world.
God is dead, and we have killed him.
And Carl Tansler have killed him. Can I have some water?
Yep. Hoyos' body was placed on display at a local funeral home, where nearly 7,000 people came to see the corrupted corpse for themselves. Her body was finally laid to rest once and for all in an unmarked grave in Key West Cemetery. Good! Good! Like, don't let this poor girl have to go through this again. She's already, like, all built up for the next person. She's slightly used at this point. Point is...
Oh my god!
Carl Tansler actually received quite a bit of compassion during his trial,
That is
with
so
some
fucked.
even viewing him as a hopeless, albeit eccentric, romantic. Nevertheless, he went on to live out the rest of his days alone and died in his home in 1952, where he was discovered 3 weeks after his passing. Ooh, I didn't notice that down there. After reading about the perverse love of Carl Tansler, brush up on macabre marriages with the Chinese ritual of ghost brides. I didn't look into that.
Ghost brides.
But I wish... Yeah, he went free.
Yeah, he went free.
I want to look up the Chinese ritual of ghost brides.
All right, let's check out the Chinese ritual of ghost brides. Let's keep this train wreck a-rolling.
Hang on one sec. I'm going to make sure the cat's not getting into...
Sure. How's everybody doing out there? Y'all doing okay? Jason, I'm sorry we couldn't have you on the show tonight. I know it was a little weirdly, like, our schedule was weird, but I got too excited about seeing my mother-in-law.
She's behaving.
Good.
Anyone was wondering, our cat's behaving.
Our cat is behaving. Till death don't us part. But a history of ghost marriage. The idea of marrying a dead person is older than the Magna Carta, and it's called ghost marriage.
Oh god, there's a few TLC specials about this, right?
Huh?
There's like a few TLC specials about this.
I mean, it's entirely possible,
like
yeah.
on My Strange Addiction and something.
Oh, probably on like Love Don't Judge too and shit.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where till death do us part wasn't taken literally. Where you could be married after death and even get married after you'd already passed on. In actuality, there's no need to imagine. Necrogamy?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Necrogamy, or marriage that takes place after death, is alive and well today. What if you're polynecrogamous?
That sounds dirty.
Could you be do you have to be mononecrogamous? There probably is, I wouldn't doubt it. Insane TV makes money. Absolutely. I mean, that's our bread and butter, essentially.
Yeah.
Necrogamy, or marriage that takes place after death, is alive and well today. Though the form and frequency of the practice varies across the globe, the fact remains that in some places the right to marry never ends, even beyond the grave. Ghost marriage in modern times. The most prominent, still surviving legal acknowledgement of necrogamy is a French law which dates back to December 31st, 1959.
Happy New Year.
The French.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. You can marry ghosts. The law came following the collapse of the Maupassant Dam, which left one woman's fiancé dead. Irene Jodart, the grieving bride-to-be, pleaded with the government to let her marry him anyway. It is unclear whether Jodart's social capital or the plentiful media coverage of her case swayed the French government, but within a month, Article 171 of the Civil Code was written. It states, "The President of the Republic may, for serious reasons, authorize the solemnization of marriage if one of the spouses died after completion of official formalities marking it unequivocal consent. In this case, the effects of marriage dated back to the day preceding the death of the husband. However, this marriage does not entail any right of
Interstate.
intestate succession for the benefit of the surviving spouse, and no matrimonial property is deemed to have existed between the spouses. Oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
like, she can't get a bunch of his shit that way.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Ghost marriage.
Ghost marriage. I'm wondering, if the whole reason this even exists is so that people don't have bastards.
Ooh, maybe.
You know, we don't want her to be ridiculed over this, and she was gonna get married anyway. Oh my god, this is.
Is that Tom from MySpace? Is it?
Oh, Dick, off topic, but I know Stu said when you saw him, he said we need to hang out, all hang out, and I agree. Yeah, absolutely. I think we all need to hang out.
Oh yeah, no.
We 100% need to make some time for it. A woman says "I do" to her dearly departed, sorry, no pun intended, to her dearly departed in France. So this still's going on in France, because this picture don't look like it's from 1959. Anyway. This is a recent photo via telegraph. In practice, this means that while a living person may marry someone who is dead, they cannot receive any of the deceased monies or belongings. They can, however, receive a pension and insurance claims on any children born or in utero at the time of the marriage are considered the deceased legitimate child. That's what it's about. Otherwise, it's purely symbolic ceremony, as the living spouse is considered a widower at the time of the ceremony. As soon as we've moved back into my parents' next week, we'll set something up. Sweet. All right. That sounds fun, girl. We absolutely do that.
I'm glad you made popcorn before
this. Otherwise, it is purely symbolic ceremony, as the living spouse is considered a widower at the time of the ceremony. Some 20 posthumous marriages are conducted every year in France, and there are examples of similar practices in the United States, South Korea, Germany, South Africa, Sudan, and Thailand. In China, however, where ghost marriage was once permitted, the idea of marrying the dead takes on an entirely new angle. Oh boy.
Dun, dun, dun.
I gotta click next. Boom. Marriage between two corpses. Yeah, that sounds like a metal album. Recorded instances of ghost marriage in China date back to the Han Dynasty in 200 AD. The most common arrangement was to marry two dead people, represented by effigies, moving the woman from her original gravesite to her new husband's. This would accomplish the joint task of giving an unmarried woman a place from her memorial tablet. It cannot be put with her birth family's tablet, as she is expected to wed and join her husband's family and their tablets. Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of bullshit. And giving the unmarried man's family a chance to adopt children in his name, so he will have descendants to worship him as an ancestor. That's funny.
This
is almost tragic. Ghost marriages were also arranged to satisfy requests from those in the afterlife. Though dreams or seances, a dead man can communicate his unhappy bachelor status to his family, who would then set out to find him a wife.
I'm just picturing a ghost in my head just eating like bachelor chow. Just being like, God, this place is a mess. I need a wife.
I need a ghost wife. Ooh, find me a ghost wife. I need ghost poon. Legend had it that okay, here we go. His bachelor status, if his requests were ignored, legend had it that an incurable illness could strike the family. Chinese customs, which dictated that the eldest son be married before younger sons can find their own brides, also encouraged the practice of ghost marriage. If an older son were to die before marrying, a ghost marriage could be sought in order to stop a succession of bachelor sons. One problem with these unions is that they've led to a rash of grave robberies. Even in recent years, people paid immense amounts of money for a fresh female corpse, so bodies were dug up and transported to paying customers, even in recent times. So that dead men could have an honorable legacy. Yep, that is not a black and white photo. People aren't wearing tweed jackets and shit. A ghost marriage of inconvenience. Oh, a ghost marriage of convenience. Sorry. Sometimes a living Chinese woman would marry a dead man. Somewhat. Mimicking the 20th century practice in France, if a woman's
Fiance.
I'm putting my glasses back on.
Yeah, you flub with the lines.
If a woman's fiance were to die before their marriage date, she could choose whether or not to follow through with the wedding. If she decided on going through with the ghost marriage, the groom would be represented by a white rooster, white cack, which would accompany her on the bridal carriage and on formal visits to her relatives after the marriage. So they're just like, this white rooster is now your husband. This is your hubby in carnal form now.
Can you imagine being in the pelican and you're just getting pecked by the rooster?
God
like
damn
it's
it.
like it's attacking the woman.
Like you just start whispering shit to it, like, I could eat you. I can't go anywhere without mine. I'd run into walls. The groom would be represented by a white chicken, white rooster. The bride would then carry the preferable status of a married woman. If she didn't, she would take the risk of trying to find another man to marry or to become a shameful single woman. If a man or boy were to die without a fiancé, his family could still arrange for a marriage for him. In order to provide him with descendants to honor his spirit, if the family was rich enough, they could convince a living woman to marry their deceased son. This way, she would be ensured financial security. The man's family would gain a daughter to help around the house, and children could again be adopted to continue the family line. In these cases, the wives of dead men would live without constraints.
With many constraints.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Do you want me to read this?
Yeah, sure. I'm kind of, yeah.
Yeah. In these cases, the wives of dead men would live with many constraints, but they would also gain something beyond the preferred married status. Freedom. As Elizabeth Gilbert writes in Committed, her memoirs / research into the history of marriage. Scroll down for me, please. Some Chinese women came to see this custom as an ideal social arrangement. During the 19th century, a surprising number of women in the Shanghai region worked as merchants in the silk trade, and some of them became terrifically successful businesswomen. Trying to gain ever more economic independence, such women would petition for ghost marriages rather than take on living husbands.
Hey, Bubba.
There is no better path to autonomy for an ambitious young businesswoman than to be married off to a respectable corpse. This brought all the social status of marriage with none of the constraints or inconvenience of actual wifehood. Go get 'em, girls.
Is this a depiction of a Chinese woman in a ghost marriage?
She looks like she's having a good time.
I feel like she's just sort of doing chores. Even with your glasses, you can't read. I know the feeling. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just keep, like, getting ahead of myself on the thing.
He's excited.
Thus, women in China were faced with difficult choices when it came to ghost marriage. On one hand, they would gain some measure of economic freedom. On the other hand, they wouldn't have any of the comforts of a living spouse and would be required to work for their husband's family as a live-in servant. These marriages were outlawed in the People's Republic of China in 1949. Giving women some measure of security against being bound to a corpse in the name of family honor. Still, the tradition lingers spookily over the country, albeit in secret, ever a reminder of unequal gender roles and outdated customs within the region. You think it'll come back as, do you think it comes back, like, as needed? Like, just sort of,
I hope so.
okay, if this is necessary, yeah, go for it.
I mean,